Right. So the reason why you can't, um, you know, get into this very much these days, or you can't. It's hard. It's hard because you're always confronted with the mental uh, explanations for everything. The reason is because why you can't go down that way, or why you can't see solutions to what's going on in the earth in terms of um, something else besides what the mind figures out. It's because you have many instruments that you come here with. You're given pretty strong instruments, physical instruments, mental instruments, things that have to do with your psychology and your heart and everything like that. And among those instruments is one instrument which does have to do with the infinite aspect of things and the God aspect of it, and that's the intuition. That's called the intuition. And the more accurate way of talking about the intuition would be to talk about it as the inner feeling that you have. You have within you a feeling. It's a particular kind of feeling. It's not a passionate feeling. It's not a mental feeling. I feel this is. A lot of times mental things don't have feelings, but if they can, and it's not anything like that. It's a different kind of thing. It comes kind of up, my experience, sort of on my right side. It's down somewhere in my where my tummy is. It's a feeling. It's all feeling. It's not anything that rises up. And so that thing that rises up, though, when man goes through the stage, which he does, where his mind starts expanding, you can see it all around you, where people, during this period, I think from the 50s, the late 50s and the last century, started getting the mind of man just started expanding and you can see it today. You can find people, young kids and scientists and all kinds of people who are really, very, very involved. Their whole life is their mind, the life of the mind. And boy, they can calculate and figure things out and see things, conceptualize things, and just it's awesome. It's impressive. The capabilities they have, the young kids with computers, amazing, all this stuff, the facilities they have. So all those instruments are vying for. They want to be used. You have a proclivity to use one of them or the other when you come here more than others. And very few people, I think, probably uh, women, I think, comes to mind more so, are involved and pay attention to their intuition. Um, so one of the and so because when the mind expands, it gets even more intense like that. That intuition thing, it's there, and it's not mentally very interesting. I mean, it is and it isn't from the point of view of your philosophy. It's quite interesting, but from the point of view of how the mind looks at things, largely material. This thing is so many millimeters wide, and so many nanometers wide, whatever, and it can fit into here and has these characteristics. It's not. It's kind of different from that. It's quite a bit different. How it looks at things. So the Almighty. So the kind of thing that I'm talking to you about is very likely you start, kind of putting you off. Say, well, this isn't very interesting. I mean, what is it? What is it? Your mind is asking that question. What is it? What is it? Maybe you are too. Oh, So, in order to have a, um, a motivation to look and pursue, maybe even give your life over to that area, as opposed to the life of the mind and so forth and so on, if you have a choice. Because quite often I see people are possessed by their mind. They don't really have a choice. Whatever you talk to them about, their mind is possessing them. It will say, well, no, 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 that's not right, that's not right. This is, you've added it up wrong and it doesn't come out like that. There's no proof of it. They always go back to their mind. But if you have a choice, some of you are fortunate to have a choice, you can probably agree with me that one of the things that's involved here is having a real proof of your own you, not your mind, not your passions, not your heart, but you yourself, the conscious you that participates or observes this life, depending, knowing that there is actually something we can call a God. Now, it's just a word, and you can be fancy about it if you want to. I just don't think there's much point in it, so we'll just say God. You could say Allah, or you could say Yahweh, or you could use some other word. They're just words, and they generally can't really, it's said with some real truth in it that you can't really name God. God isn't like other things. So, let's not think about that. Let's just say God. Let's just use the word God. So you need to have a proof that there is a God. When people have a near-death experience, they have a proof. Or when they experience a miracle in their life, which their mind just cannot give a solution for, they just can't see how it could actually happen. Why, then they have some kind of proof. They still don't know what to do with it. But they do have a proof. So the first thing, in order to get going down this path of the way of the inner life, or the way of what we call the real life, the infinite life, if you will, can't think about it. It's just a notion that we're talking about. The way that you can do that, the first thing would be to have a proof that there was a God. You could have. So in order to have that proof, or you could say, well, if there is you can start getting smarty pants about it. Well, if there's a God, well, then he could prove it to me. Why doesn't he just show himself? Well, you have all these mental or man, the point of view of man. But if the point of view of the Almighty, which it is wider than that, then man, you can't impose your limited concept on the Almighty. It's kind of like if you were a chair and you try to figure out who made you. Well, you couldn't do it because you don't have within you the qualities and the quantity, the aspects of whatever that would be able to understand. So you could say, for instance, about God that there's God, and nobody really understands God, because if there was someone who understood God, there would be two gods, God and the one that understands God. And you can see where that would go. So, no, we don't. But we can have a proof. Now, so the Almighty has given out to mankind at this time, during these centuries, this period of time, a gift. And it's the kind of a gift that sort of bypasses all the things that people and efforts they make to be close to God, or to find God, or to pray and do this, and to do all kinds of things to try and get themselves to a point where they can connect up and have experience of something about God, a vision, whatever it is, an experience, a real experience. They want a real experience. So God has given man a gift in order to help him to a connection with God. It's just given. Oop, there it is. He'll give it. God gives it to anyone. I've been told. Seems to be true. My experience is true. Anybody that just says, well, I'd like to have that. I'd like to be connected with God. Okay, here you go. See, nothing to it. It's very simple. But when you look at the gift itself, it makes such perfect sense. And what is that sense? Well, in the way of the gift, here's what happens. You connect up with people who already have the gift, so they're able to kind of, it helps to have other people. If you're learning about how to make a car, it helps to have other people in the room that have made cars and so forth and so on and so on. It helps to have other people who have experienced this and kind of know how to successfully. It's not hard, it's very easy. But the point of it is that you stand in front of these people and they ask you if they bear witness. And but they bear witness to your wish to pay attention, be aware of worship, whatever you want to call the word. The one who created you, the God. And so if you agree, and then then they ask you to close your eyes and just wait, and not to do anything. But if whatever arises within you, to freely follow it. And that's what you do. Now, what is the point of this? Let's talk about some of the intelligences. First of all the instruments that I've been talking about, you could talk about as well, I'm sure, on and on. Scientists could talk even more and more and more about it. All the instruments and the faculties that man has for use, it's for use on the earth. When you die, it all goes away. You don't have it anymore. Those faculties are gone. Whatever your spirit or your soul, it doesn't have that body and all those faculties and all that kind of stuff. It has inner things, inner qualities, and inner mind and inner heart. But those are not just limited to the earth. What you have here is limited to the earth. So when you are wanting this, to have proof of God and have God actually work on you, where you can see it, where you can experience it, feel it, being moved by it, actually physically moved by it, be moved in your feelings, feel things that you haven't felt before, good things, then you need not to be activating any of those things. You need not to be trying to see with your mind, well, what is this? What is this? Just let it go. And so then, when the Almighty works on you, then what kind of work, what does that look like? And this is where the thing comes in that makes it even more difficult for people who are unwilling to just be open-minded, see what happens. Because what is wrong with you as a human instrument, as a being that's here, what isn't right that prevents you from seeing more clearly the reality, experiencing the reality, so that you can behave in a way which will benefit you and everyone else around you. Is that your instrument, because of the generations of man, is degraded. It's goofed up. Instead of your mind being off under the table where you have a connection to it, you can use it when you need it. It's right there in the middle of your head, you know, right where you don't need it to be, just directing everything and telling you what to do and all this kind of stuff. And your heart could be anywhere. Your heart could be in your throat. All of your faculties, your inner faculties, they're all goofed up from the many generations. I figure something like 2,500, like 50,000 years or so of experiencing life here, and then the children, carry, they bring with them the things from their parents. They inherit things. Over time, just like anything else, no matter how perfect it is, it gets messed up. It needs to be fixed. So the big message here is that man needs to be fixed. This is the real answer to our problem. We don't need to take our messed up beings and go on trying to do the things which mostly don't work very well. They kind of work and they kind of don't work. We just keep going on and on until we just exhaust all of our resources and everything we have, and then it still doesn't work very well and bad things happen. Maybe terminal things, or maybe almost terminal things to mankind. No, what needs to be happening is that man needs to be, as they say in Italy, in the Italian construction industry, restaurante. They need to be restored. I probably mispronounced the word, but when I was in Italy, I saw a lot of. They don't build new things. They try to restore the old buildings. That's their thing. Restore. They're restoring everything. Man needs to be restored. You can throw him away, or you could restore him. Fortunately, from our point of view, it's kind of anthropocentric. We prefer that he doesn't destroy, but we identify with that. And so we say, well, yeah, he's willing to restore us. Now, in this gift that I'm talking about, the restoration is not clear to the person who's being restored. I mean, it's not obvious. It's not the kind of things they would think. First, you would do this, then you would do that. Then you would have, God would talk to you, and you would have a vision of the truth, and you would see this and see that. No, it's not like that very much at all. I mean, some people do have visions, but God doesn't talk to them exactly. That's not how it works. I don't want to get into that because God is way more subtle than anything. Doesn't direct himself toward you. You are part of the human soul, and so the whole thing is, and you get to be a part of that. But so, for instance, when in general, what we find in people who receive the gift, because there's been over 1 million of them on the earth that have taken this up, and to whatever degree. Some have persisted, some have not. But in allowing the Almighty to work on them twice a week, it's perfect. It's perfectly intelligent because they don't do anything. They don't interfere. They don't mess around with what the master mechanic says. When you're in the presence of a master mechanic of any trade, you don't question. He says, okay, give me the 4 millimeter. And you're thinking, well, he's going to take the 10 millimeter now. And then you go like, well, why does he want the 4 millimeter range? That's wrong. That doesn't make any sense. But you don't question it because you know from experience, oh yeah, he's going to do that thing. I hadn't thought of that. And then, oh, look what he does there. Oh my God, what's he doing now? I don't even understand what he's doing. So much more the Almighty. So the Almighty starts working on you. Well, one of the first things is your sexual feelings, which, makes sense because they go really deep in you, and you had a sexual experience, or, or your or your ancestors have, and all those feelings, any dirt that's in there, any stuff that's not right, it has to be purified, has to be cleaned. There I've used the word purified, but it has to be cleaned up. So this involves, sometimes you'll make movements in relationship to that, but you don't really know, well, why am I moving like this? Well, this is almost like a sexual movement. They think, well, is this thing real? See, so it's so easy for the mind just to completely misunderstand. Then you may shout, you may be miserable, you may find yourself repenting things you didn't even know. Now suddenly you realize, oh my God, I did that terrible thing. I forgot about it. I didn't even think I didn't mean to do it, whatever. But then you find yourself repenting, or you find yourself lost and calling out. Go through all kinds of things, but also a lot of ordinary things. Your physical body needs to be everything needs to be kind of fixed up a little bit, because it's obviously important for us to be healthy. That's the first prerequisite. If you're not healthy, you can't think about much of anything. And or if you do, it's kind of twisted and stuff. And so this process takes quite a while. Many, many years. Because if you consider that's been going on, this degradation, this degrading of the human being to the point where it's gotten to now, has been going on for 50,000 years. With some good things happening along the way, but on the whole, kind of going downhill in terms of the kind of consciousness that we have, and the kind of insights and the ways that we have. For instance, you can read in the Bible where you had people, oh yeah, they said an angel come by and told them this and this, like it was nothing. You're not going to find many people here that can see angels. Very few. And seeing an angel, it takes your instruments being in a certain pretty highly improved to actually see them. It said that the angels, some of the angels, they're bigger than the earth. They come in and do things. Anyway, so we've obviously lost a lot of those capacities, to the point where you read about it and you go like, oh yeah, well, whatever. But you think, if you think about it, you think, well, I don't see those things. What is that? So then you start wondering about it. Doubts and things like that have to be purified out of your system. You have a whole system, a whole residue of doubts in your body. Anyway, all those things have to come out, and it results in a lot of hollering and running around in a room, and or just standing there, looks like nothing's happening. All kinds of things which are very confusing to the mind. But you are in the explanation for the gift. You're told just to allow it to work. And lo and behold, the general experience is when you get through with that half hour and you come out, you feel refreshed and you feel good. And something, you can't quite put your finger on it, but you feel like you're making progress. Things are getting a little bit better, very gradually. It takes many years to get the whole thing, if you persist, to get it all worked out. And then, when you do, you can come to the real solution, which is pretty obvious by that time. And it'll be obvious to you if I tell you about it, because you might think, well, why didn't I think of that? Of what it is that we need to do to get mankind going in a better direction. It's better for all of us. Well, I'll tell you what it is. man has in him, he's been provided with kind of a dual nature. He has a good character and he has a bad character. People that are raised up in a loving family and so forth and so on, or who are fortunate enough to have that strongly within themselves, have a good character, and they almost always, and eventually will always, well, won't say absolutely, but just for practical reasons, all the time, will move along the line of their good character, their noble character, their human character that is good. Now, people that are raised up in a way that isn't so hot, isn't so good, by people who are also, it's not their fault necessarily. I mean, they're degraded. They're headed off in the wrong direction. They'll be raised up, or that person themselves may come into the world with more of a bad character. So the matter of human affairs, what mankind is dealing with right now is the fact that the bad character of man is predominating, is taking over, is getting stronger and stronger, and the good character is kind of not so strong. It's not as strong. So when you receive this contact, and after a while, just about other things, but it also works on other things. It works on a lot of things I haven't talked about. Your heart, condition of your heart, what it, anger, how you get angry and you don't get angry, and what makes you angry. But it works on your character, and as you go along, if you submit to it, then that will guide you to use your good character. Good character is the main thing that man is having a problem with. If everyone on the earth acted from their good character, wow, what would happen then? So that's the solution, not being an activist, not being the smartest person in the room, not being the strongest, not being the most ignorant, which, seems like some comedy together. Not being the most gentle or the most loving, but persistently everyone following most of the people, the predominant number of people, by a strong majority of people following their good character. Now, if you look at your lifetime and you look back, you'll see, I've seen it, maybe you'll see how when you started out, there were more people of good character operating and getting things, saving the day, so to speak, at the last minute. Some of the terrible things were about to happen. And then less and less. And then, like now you have, like the bad character just seems to be ticking along and nothing can stop it. If you're having some difficulty thinking about what it means, good character, bad character, I'll give you a simple example. Suppose you ask me, let's say I'm busy working, and so I'm making this video, and you ask me, could I lend you, somebody comes over and you knock on the window, could you lend me $20? I'm having an emergency here and I need your help. If you have a good character, and you're operating in your good character, you will say without hesitation, well, sure, I'd love to help you. I don't actually have any cash. I have some coins that might make up $20. You'd have to get those tomorrow. Maybe my son has some money. What is it that you need? Maybe we can do it without some money, because I don't actually have any money right now. I have some money I can get tomorrow, but not today. This happens, I ran out. I have some coins, I probably have $10, $15 worth of coins. And then I would want to know what's the problem. You're responsible. Let's deal with this. And I would be happy to do it. I wouldn't be serious and sad about it. Yeah, let's see, what can we do? I know it would take effort. There would be pain involved. I have to get up out of my chair, and I was busy having fun, whatever, doing this. But I would do it. And there are many people who would do it as well. But suppose that my bad character has kind of gotten into the fray, has gotten in, it kind of dominates me, and I don't even realize what I'm doing. And somebody knocks on the door and says, "Who is it? Who's knocking my door?" It's, my God, it's after midnight. What do you want? What do you want? What can I? Do I know you? Oh, I don't have any money. I can't help you right now. Don't you have friends who could help you? A bunch of stupid questions. The guy had friends that could help me, he'd already be having the help, wouldn't he? I mean, how did you get yourself into this mess? What does that have to do with it? We all get ourselves into messes. So, bad character just goes on and says, well, I don't know, maybe you could ask somebody else. I don't have any money, and you could just be, a bad character person. That's a bad character. Now, the bad character feels that what's bad is good. And that character feels that what's good is bad. So here's a person who has the courage. They're in trouble, and they have the courage to ask somebody else to help them because they really need help. That's good. That's a good thing. But the bad character feels like, what is this guy? This is bad. What is it? You get in the middle of the night? You shouldn't come in the middle of the night. That's bad. And then the bad character feels like, well, he does all the things. And, well, that's good. I can't. Obviously, why would he ask me? This is stupid what he's doing. He shouldn't be asking me. Well, of course he should. You're a human being, and we help each other. We're our brother's keeper. So that's a little example of good character and bad character. You can apply that, if you want to a situation we're in the world today with the different people and factions and everything else. And you can see where good character and good actions would take us out of all these things, and the bad character just makes it worse. And the guy leaves the house. He doesn't feel good anymore. He feels even worse than he did before he got here. He has to deal with that. He has to keep his spirits up so he can find somebody else. Kind of a hard thing to do in the middle of the night. Not wake people up and stuff to help you out. It's hard to do. So this gift will bring you over to your good character. It will bring mankind over to whatever mankind brings. That's what we need. That is the solution. We need for the good character of man to have a majority predominance on the earth. And then we can come up. We can take care of things. So this gift that God is giving is an absolutely perfect gift. That's just one. That's one part of it. There are other things too, but I won't talk about it. So anyway, that's some talk about how to figure out what this life is really all about, and to get with the program, the real program, not the program of the mind, not the program of the heart. Not the program of the self, the limited self only knows. When you stop and think, what is it that you're aware of around you? Well, you're aware of some things that you don't even know what they are. You're aware, you feel aware, you're aware of something. You're that kind of person, and a lot of us are. You don't even know what it is, but in terms of your own perceptions and what you see, as scientists point out, well, we don't see reality, we see a part of reality because of the kind of instruments that we have. We can see certain things, in certain realms, certain vibrations of light, etc., and not others. So we don't see all the things that are going on. That's why they have such fun with these, these satellites that go up and look at other things that are going on, how much heat there is, how much infrared, red this, and whatever that is. So we can't see the self is limited. So if you limited self-act, and you do sometimes, don't you? I mean, you have great confidence, you're just sure, you feel good about doing this thing from yourself. This feels really good to me. And yet, it turns out to be not so good at all. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Because why? Because the self can't see that far. So living a life without being connected up with the whole picture is dangerous. It's not safe. You think everything's fine, you walk in that room and you won't walk back out of it again. It can be that bad, Or you can get connected up with somebody, think it's great, and they'll just ruin your life. Ruin a good, happy life. Yeah. So there you have it. So enough of that. God bless, and it's talking about the real solutions to man's problems, not what we think, and the difference between the two. Okay.